Welcome everyone to this episode of Demand Drivers. We're going to cover off the importance of customer experience in marketing. And we're joined today by the lovely Leanne.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to pass it over this time actually to Chris first off. He's got lots to say on this topic.
Customer experience, let's be honest, the most essential point. Right?
No, not the most essential, but up there. No, not for driving. I wouldn't say it's the most essential.
Okay. I would, because
controversial.
Yeah, right. Let's
I
do kicking it off. You know what it is? I just find that in my first couple of years of business, I found that providing that great customer experience is what did all my marketing for me. Mm-hmm. And I work with a lot of startups at the moment, and a lot of people say the same thing. And it's the little things. Like, for instance, when an inquiry comes through your website, I say to my team, half an hour is the latest before it should be, and it's then it's everything. It's making sure that they are getting listened to, respected. They're getting something that's nice and clear. I also find that it's like it helps them feel good about what they are doing and justifying the service cost. And then it's everything after. It's the experience of receiving what the service is. And then the most important part is the delighting after, because a lot of, and I hear this a lot, is agencies service and business service drop straight off. And like Kristen's been received, we've all seen that. And it's like great lead up and then drop off, and that's customer experience. I'd like to hear why you disagree, but Leanne, jump in for a second.
No, it builds trust. It builds trust, and as soon as someone feels comfortable and is trusting someone, they're willing to give more, and they're willing to give you a chance, and they're actually more open-minded. They're more divergent in their thinking, and they will always compare to a reference, and the reference might be somewhere where they had really bad customer service or experience.
And we see that all the time in Google reviews.
Yeah.
We do, yes, it comes up. But
why?
So I wasn't saying it's not important. I said it's not the most important. Okay. Because I feel that there's a lot of things that have to come before your customer experience piece that have to be right. Because you can't get to a great customer experience unless you've done. There's a whole range of things. So is it the most important thing? No, but is it really important? And I think I was actually doing some reading on customer experience recently, and one of the things that really stuck out for me was businesses that flip it and actually enjoy and focus their whole business around the customer experience from the customer's perspective. Because quite often, we all kind of look at through a lens from our own business and say, us customer, and this is the experience they're having, and this is how I'm servicing it, as opposed to, no, I am customer, what's happening to me, and how am I receiving this service? And I think that the piece around the end, making sure that because we've all had services provided
and you
to us.
never forget it, and everyone looks at the 1 stars. People are more willing to complain, whereas if you make people happy.
I mean, we work with customer journey maps, and I do that a lot with my clients, right from the beginning to the end. And the most actually important part that is most effective in terms of driving demand and driving sales is not only just the purchase, but the post-purchase and also advocacy. So getting people to understand that even though they're having a good time up until that purchase, what happens beyond that? Do you just go, see you later? Absolutely not. That's really important, and we value and respect and also love that you're doing business with us.
So who's the best to talk to about customer experience?
Do you mean like from a marketing perspective?
Yeah. Who's the best person to tell you about your...
the customer. I thought that was a trick question.
I was like, that can't be that obvious.
But that is key, isn't it? So often we try and map out customer experience, but we forget to ask the customer, okay, what would make a perfect experience? And then
are you confused here? Like, did I respond correctly? Did I give you the right information?
Get those touch points and build that into your own
The critical one
journey.
is what Leanne said, is that customer journey mapping.
Yeah.
It's a really critical step. Thinking about everything right from the attraction side of things when you're looking at your marketing and activities.
We start with a psychological trigger.
Okay, so who's going to name? Can we go through?
We've all got different ones.
We've all got different ones. Go through your customer journey.
I would start with the stranger. I would say that there's a stranger that could be any consumer, and then I sort of dwindle it down from there, and I become...
So strangers before awareness.
Stranger,
and mine's psychological trigger before awareness.
So is that like the need? Is it like
what
is
is it that
hungry?
makes someone think, without even knowing who you are, that there is something that they need, or there's a problem that needs to be... What is it? And it could be seeing an ad somewhere, or having a conversation, or looking at someone's
But is that awareness,
sneakers.
or is that's awareness?
No, It's just before awareness.
Because that's the stranger side of things.
Yeah, it's
Where
just
you
before
then
awareness.
you get into this awareness
it is.
where you
Very
either
similar.
then have a problem
Yep.
or you become aware of a problem because some clever marketing out there has made you aware that, hey, I've got a problem here that I need to solve. So,
And then what? Then it moves to like aware of, and then they go into the research phase.
So desire
Yep,
for
desire.
us. So desire, like, right, I'm aware, right, I want to do something about it. Looking at the research, so research and doing due diligence. Why would I pick you over a competitor, for instance? And then the consideration phase, and then we go into
And
the
the consideration
purchase.
phase, I feel, is very important, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's where they go, I've got an inkling, like I've kind of looked at the landscape, I found what I like, and this can be anything, like schools, all that sort of thing.
well, I think that's where this actually leans into what Kristen was saying earlier.
Where you pull the
where
brakes
It's not
and
just
the first thing.
that's right. Where you just controversially said, "What? No." Well, the point is,
You're going to do a donut.
that's right. That's where you sort of raise this point where they're not actually a customer at that point. So we're talking about customer experience, but they're not actually a customer. And so to Kristen's point, he's right. This is well beforehand.
Yeah.
The way we sort of look at it, we sort of define it by customer satisfaction. So when we look at customer experience, we go that step further and say it's actually about customer satisfaction, right? And so what is customer satisfaction? It's the difference between your expectations and your experience.
Yep.
So it's when people go to make a purchase, they have those expectations, and we need to make sure that the expectations they have of our business is better than our competition.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
It's also how you make them feel.
Yep.
So it's
So they
not
remember
just
that, right?
expectation, but it's how they felt during that entire experience.
Yep.
So another statistic, and I love my statistics, is 93% of any kind of decision, especially when we make a purchase, is with emotion, and 7% is logic. So what you're saying is absolutely perfect, but just throw a little bit of emotion, sprinkle a little bit of emotion in there, and then we're good.
And did you know that the majority of your emotional is driven by your initial visual contact?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
And I always say to
I can see there's a podcast.
Look how scientific we've become.
But it's good. And I always say to new team members that join my team, I always say we're in the business of setting expectations. And the reason why I do that is because, and for people listening, I'm sure that there's a lot that can relate to this, is there's an expectation for a lot of different things. And people come from so many different areas. You can have a product or a service, but a lot of people will come in and go, I'm wanting this. And if you don't get on the same page with them, it can damage the customer experience. I mean, that's why we say, can I understand your scope? What are you looking for? What is it that you do? Because this is what happens is, it doesn't matter if you deliver the most brilliant whatever, if they were focused in the wrong direction and you didn't take the time to look at that, what happens is they're disappointed, and you'll be so disappointed yourself because you're like, oh my gosh, I put my blood, sweat and tears into this product or service, and they were expecting something else. And that plays into this topic, which is the customer expectation and experience.
Yeah, if you think about all the experiences that we kind of go through and that difference between the expectation and the actual experience.
Yeah, the gap there.
That gap is what leads to our satisfaction. And that's the likelihood that we're then going to come back and make a purchase again next time.
And tell everyone about it. Word of mouth.
Exactly.
Which takes you onto the advocacy.
And it seems like we're all doing that. I mean, you said it already, Chris, about that. That's exactly what you're doing in your business when you talk about the whole team about expectations and managing expectations. So it's setting those expectations and then making sure you deliver on those expectations. And we all have this, we have all these examples and stuff that we tend to go through, but we often go through it when you just think simply about, going to a restaurant. Yeah. You can go to a very high-end restaurant and have it's an average experience for a high-end restaurant, but it's way above anything you would have had at any sort of local small restaurant.
But again, if it's Michelin star restaurant, you're expecting Michelin star service.
Exactly.
Again, the key word, expect Michelin star service.
But I think,
100%, that's right.
From my perspective, I think that in terms of the execution, once you've got your client in and they've contacted you, you're in a lot of control in that environment where you can be quite considered in the way that you deliver the service or you deliver the product, and so once they've hit there and they're in the buy mode and they've reached out to you, that's where a lot of people spend a lot of their time because that's the bit they're most comfortable with because they're actually engaging with the customer. I think today though, what you need to do is divide a lot more of your time into the earlier stage, which is in the awareness and research stage.
Prospecting.
Because there's so much due diligence done through your digital media now, and so much time spent by and it's not just about B2B, it's B2C. People are just spending a lot more time going, okay,
testimonials, case studies, videos, competitors, they look up everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all do it.
And having pillar content in place to make sure that when they're going through that phase, you make the journey really, really simple for them, and you differentiate to address their need, and you do it with value. That's what we focus on.
Yeah, I was just going to say something along the lines of customer engagement, because the way that you engage with the customer changes the experience that they actually will either expect or feel. So that engagement, and that is almost the pre-purchase, where we're starting psychological trigger, awareness, desire, research, consideration, is how is that person being treated? How are we engaging with them to nudge them to then purchase from us or to work with us? And then that creates part of the holistic experience, and then we go on to post-purchase and advocacy for them to have the best experience ever that they just tell the world.
Yeah. So how do you focus? What do you do as some of the hooks in the research and the awareness phase, Chris?
For me, like as in getting customer experience on board, or?
Oh, no, before they have the customer experience, and just to create more awareness and make sure, because I think a lot of it is, I'm going to jump ahead, but we often view advocacy as after they've experienced our service, but actually the advocacy plays a big part around the awareness phase, because it's having that community who's promoting your business and validating you in the awareness phase.
And look, I just provide lots of everything, but social proof and evidence is like that digital interview. I spent so much of my time and my team's time being out there, going to conferences, doing podcasts, all those kind of things, because it just raises that awareness and ticks those boxes in the digital interview that customers often have. And bringing it back to the theme of demand driving, is that one of the best forms of marketing is word of mouth. And I feel like if you're encouraging that through great experience, people tell other people, and it creates a community that are doing your marketing and sales for you.
Yeah.
So I think if we looked at it in terms of summarizing what we've kind of gone through, I think there's two major points that kind of come through.
Oh, you got two? Okay.
Yeah, well, trying to summarize this thing, all right? There's a lot we covered a lot here, but I'm going to try and condense this down. So there's two key areas. So one is looking at the customer experience and expectation management, and then the actual experience, but then also thinking broader about that experience. It's not just about, hey, when they become a customer, but it's thinking about the entire customer journey, and how is the experience through each of those touch points along the way, and particularly from an emotional point of view, how we're kind of connecting in with them through that journey.
Yeah.
I love it.
And don't be shy of speaking to your customers. Yeah.
And ask questions. We don't ask enough questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Bring us home.
Thanks everyone. That's been a fantastic episode all about customer experience in marketing.